Okay, I'm going to start reading about halfway through this email because it's really long. Here's the deal. If you're going to be sending me stuff and you really need me to, you know, if you really want the questionable advice of a porn blogger, try to edit yourself down a little, because if I read this entire thing, we're going to hit the 5-minute mark before I even start talking myself. So here's halfway through. But this is my problem. I have these temporary obsessions with guys. It's not like a sick obsession that's really, that I just really get into them. I pass a lot of time thinking about that person, but then it just passes on to another one. I started noticing this when I was a teenager. I had these huge crushes on Brett Corrigan, which, by the way, I discovered a friend's friend. I could finally meet him. It happened to me with several guys and a girl. Odd, right? Not only with porn stars or actors, but people I know. It's maybe because I never had a relationship or sex with somebody, and that leads me to my second concern. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, that's just everybody, all right? Everybody gets temporary crushes on people, and everybody gets interested in somebody, and then and then you move on. Like, literally. What you just described here describes about 95% of the people out there, that you get a crush on somebody, and then you move on to the next person, especially when you're younger. I mean, it doesn't even really, I mean, I'm 40-something, and how old am I? I think I'm 42. Anyway, whatever. And it's just, it happens. You get, that's not a problem. That just happens. Why the fuck are all the hot guys always taken? It seems impossible to find a cute single guy, and I'm tired of waiting. We're going to get back to that word in a minute. Several have approached me. To be honest, they were all ugly, or old and ugly. I don't mind older guys if they're hot. I prefer older guys. And it seems like I'm judging a lot by physical beauty, but most of them were really boring and had nothing to talk about, and at least I think a little physical appearance is the key to attraction or relationship. Do you think I'm too demanding? Here's the thing. You just say right here, I'm tired of waiting, because it's sort of like you're trying to complete yourself. Now we're going to get to the first part of the letter that I skipped, which was just kind of wordy. And what you do is you describe yourself with a whole lot of sort of descriptive words, like you go on about how you're 18 but you look older, and you're this and you're that, and you've got a jock body, and sometimes you're a muscle jock, and sometimes you're a biker, and sometimes you're a cute baby bear. To me, this whole thing sounds like you're really desperately trying to shoehorn yourself into a lifestyle or into a role, and not just kind of be who you are. If you spend too much time trying to put like a label and a sub-label and a sub-sub-label on yourself, like you mentioned how sometimes you shave or wax your body and it's not really naturally smooth, and sometimes you're just too lazy to do it, and that's when you look like a baby bear cub and slightly touch of motorcycle. It's sort of like you're trying so hard to kind of shoehorn yourself into this role and be something. And that kind of is pouring over into the whole, I'm waiting for a boyfriend. And it's like you're constantly kind of going and trying to look for something. You really just have to kind of let life happen. You can't rush this shit. Just become happy with who you are. Be who you are, and I mean, it's kind of one of those drums that I keep banging on a whole lot of the videos that I do, is that people spend an awful lot of time trying to be something, and trying to be something or try to fit in somewhere, and they just end up shoehorning themselves into this place where they think they're attracted to the people there, but they themselves don't necessarily fit. We get that whole square pegs problem. And essentially what you wind up doing is spending all of your time spinning your wheels and waiting, Like you're waiting for this boyfriend, but you're not necessarily doing anything to attract this boyfriend. I have to say, it's really cute to watch the dogs. They keep running around in circles around the cars out there. It's very cute. They have all sorts of energy. They're, because they're dogs. That's just an aside. I guess my best kind of advice on all of this is just stop trying to fight what's just going to naturally happen, like, getting odd crushes here and there, because that just happens for your entire life. And also stop trying to force other things, like, I'm a this, or I'm a that, and this is what I am, so how come, and I want a boyfriend. Just kind of let shit happen, because really, you're no different than everybody else out there. You really aren't. Everybody just, wants to essentially be comfortable in their own skin. And sometimes the most difficult part is just letting that happen naturally. Because sometimes we'll see, and this is what kind of gives us all of those crushes, we'll see people who have, character traits that we really find attractive. And not only, do we find them attractive in that we are attracted to them, but we also see that they seem happy and they seem, content, and they seem like they really enjoy life and all that kind of thing. And we want to be like that, so we wind up kind of trying to emulate them. And it reminds me of this ex-boyfriend that I had, who would spend all of his life looking for a proper lifestyle. And it was really weird. Like, he would go back and forth between, I want to be a British punk, and he was from Northern Ontario. And so he would, shave his hair really short with the big sideburns, and he'd get like a white t-shirt and suspenders, but he wouldn't really spend a lot on them because, so he'd, spend $5 on a really cheap pair. And then jeans and Doc Martens and roll them up, and then he would get a tattoo, and then he would, buy all the proper records that he was supposed to listen to, and he would change his brand of cigarettes to Vantage, and then he would only eat, steel-cut oatmeal. I mean, it was just like all these weird things of trying to fit into the British punk thing. And then he'd get kind of tired of that, and then he'd want to be, kind of like a classy guy, and he'd throw out all the old clothes, and then in would come, tailored suits, and records by Sting and Peter Gabriel and Sade, and he'd paint the apartment, mauve, and just watch, I don't know, movies with William Hurt in them, and you understand what I mean. And then he'd hang out at these like jazz cocktail bars and sip martinis and talk about how much he really loved Billie Holiday, even though he didn't have any of his records. I'm not making that up. His records. And he was just never happy, and I guess he eventually realized that I was just yet another accessory, and he dumped me by telling me that I was short, fat, and ugly. So I broke into his apartment and I cut the crotches out of all of his pants. What? I was into a corner. The point is, just kind of be happy with who you are. Stop trying to label yourself, and stop trying to shoehorn yourself into a particular lifestyle. You should never be waiting for a boyfriend. A boyfriend is something that comes along, when you're kind of ready for him. And it sounds to me like you're still sort of trying to figure out exactly where in this world you fit. And quite honestly, right now you just kind of don't need one. So there you go. Oh, and then you say that you're studying film and television, which means that you might end up just like me. Sorry. Everybody else keep asking me questions. But, edit them down, because that's really long.